Hey guys, Brian Stevens here. I got Shane Eastman from Eastman Insurance Solutions. Everything insurance out here in the state of California, which I think is probably pretty challenging in and of itself. Conversation for another day. I found myself, Shane, in a conversation with someone, and we were talking about a loan officer and calling and looking to get an insurance quote on a borrower. Which I did for years when I was writing loans, and we'd be able to get these quotes, these riders, and we'd be able to draw docs and fund our deals. And what I learned was that's not how insurance is running, especially the state of California. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. So insurance has been in California in trouble for about a decade, but carriers have been kind of juggling their balls and spinning plates and kind of backfilling. And then the fires hit about 5 years ago, and they were unprecedented fires. And it was at that point where insurance companies kind of had this aha moment. They were like, oh crap, we're in trouble. When that happened, our insurance commissioner stepped in and did a lot of unprecedented things as well. Okay. Here in California, we have an elected insurance commissioner, and in the 23 years that I've been in this business, that person has never had any insurance experience. And so this individual that shall remain nameless comes in, and he starts basically rewriting insurance as it's known, which a lot of insurance companies are like, yeah, that's not how this works. But they played ball. Then come COVID. COVID had a very interesting dynamic on the insurance market and had the ability, Brian, to really right the ship in California because everybody was home. And so carriers were becoming profitable again, and they were like, hey, this is cool. We might actually be able to come out of this scathe-free. And then the insurance commissioner stepped in and said, hey, you're going to issue refunds to all these people. And that really was kind of the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. And so what's happened for the last 6 months is all carriers that are operating in California have basically come to the market and said, hey, we're not offering insurance anymore. Don't send it to us. Read between the lines. We don't want you submitting insurance to us. Some of them have exited. I'm sure that you saw State Farm, Allstate. They've pumped their brakes and said, hey, we're not allowing business at all. Other carriers are not taking that same approach, but they're letting it be known to the marketplace that we're going to make this as difficult as possible. And we, again, really don't want you submitting business, so much so that we may take your appointment if you do so. So a year ago, you were, to your point, you were saying, hey, man, we can, 11th hour, we can shoot this out to our broker of choice, and they can get 3 or 4 quotes for us and they can meet a price. That's done. Those days are gone. Last year at this time, I had 15 carriers that were willing to fight for your business. Now, I may be able to get one carrier to look at it if you are absolutely squeaky clean. No claims, no payment history issues, no tickets, no accidents. If you are an absolute stud, I may get you done inside of 2 weeks.
So, for a loan officer, a real estate agent, what this is screaming at me is you got to deal with your insurance up front. This is something that needs to be addressed on day one.
100%.
Just out of curiosity, what happens to folks if they can't get in a policy? Is there any state run insurance policies that are crap what does that look like?
So we do have in California, it's called the California Fair Plan, which is we've entered into an agreement with this state-funded insurance program that they're the broker of last resorts. They're the insurance company of last resorts. It's not a complete policy. They don't offer any liability coverage, and they strictly want the risk of fire. They don't want any other risk. So when we write those policies with California Fair Plan, we have to write an accompanying policy called difference in conditions, meaning Company A, California Fair Plan, offers these coverages. Company B, could be any traditional company, comes in and they together make 360 degrees of coverages with some gaps. So if we went into a DEFCON situation where we had no carriers, you could go through that, but they've been taking on business in the high brush areas that all of the traditional carriers don't want for the last 5 years, and they're on the verge of insolvency.
I hope people are watching this outside of the state of California, because this is what's happening on the eastern seaboard and, down around the Gulf with hurricanes. It's the same thing. They've got state and federal programs that are insolvent right now to deal with that. And not to mention the floods that we're going to find around a lot of our major lakes and our tornadoes in the middle of the country. This is becoming an epidemic on all fronts right now. We're just speaking about it in terms terms of the state of California. It's clearly taken time frames and just throwing them out the window. We got to deal with this. What has it done to the cost of insurance? Has it increased it, or is it
massively? So and that's a thing that nobody wants to talk about, especially in California, right? Everything is so expensive here. Nobody wants to talk about California insurance rates are cheaper than Oregon, Nevada, all of our bordering states. Have higher insurance rates than we do.
Why is that?
Why?
Yeah.
I think it was done under I think the carriers had the impression that if they came and they tried to get the rate that they needed to, that they would somehow scare the marketplace or lose market share. Okay. And to your point, yes, California is kind of the tipping of the scale.
Yeah.
So many national insurance companies that do business in California, the majority of the premium that they're making comes from California. And so what we're seeing is, hey, they're pumping the brakes in California. Well, if you pump the brakes in California, that means you got to pump the brakes in all those other states too, until you kind of right the ship. So as much as we hate to say it, California, New York, coast to coast is kind of the indicator of things to come in other states. And so to answer the original question, I don't know why they didn't bring that rate like they needed to. They thought they can get creative in different ways.
I was speaking with Elise, and I think she had mentioned, again, and don't hold anybody to this, but just if you could address a point, that right now, more so than ever, is kind of the whole idea of bundling your insurances. Like if you need to get your car insurance, we're having problems on that front as well. You need your homeowner's insurance. The best way to get these policies, where maybe we would, kind of a la carte them, get my hazard policy here, my car policy here, my homeowner's insurance policy there. Bundling really needs to be something that people need to start looking at more closely. Is that an accurate statement?
It's really paramount. That's kind of always been our approach here at the agency, is that we're not a monoline company. I don't want to write you just your homeowners. If you want to bring your entire package to us, that's kind of always been our strategy. But the carriers are following suit. So like I said, I may have that one carrier that wants to pick you up and offer you that home policy, but it's going to come with all of your other lines too, because they need the premium on those other policies to offset the risk. Wow. So it's no losses, multi-policies, no tickets, no accidents. I mean, you have to be a proverbial clean risk that's bundled. Besides, I mean, outside of the fact that it just makes smart sense to have your all of your eggs in one basket in this certain scenario.
Well, I know I speak for both of us when I say at least we are in good hands with our elected officials in the state of California over here. And
that's sarcasm, right? I've heard of that. I've heard of that before. Yeah, and that's Brian. That's really problem. We had a State of the Union. I was out in the Grand Canyon on vacation last week, and we had this State of the Union by our fearless leader and the insurance commissioner. And honestly, I was really looking forward to it because I thought that enough pressure had been applied. I mean, we're knee deep in this thing hard 6 months, where people are asking hard questions like, what the heck is going on? And so the insurance commissioner comes out and says, hey man, we're going to have this State of the State. We're going to address the problems. And man, I was looking forward to this. I'm literally in my car on vacation watching this Zoom video, and they completely and utterly face planted. I'll actually send you the link if you want a good laugh. Blamed climate change, blamed everyone that could be blamed for why they're in the position that they're in now, and came with zero solutions. And so again, we're DEFCON 3 right now, about sunk, and you have the insurance industry pointing the finger at the DOI, and you have the DOI pointing their finger at the insurance industry, and nobody's bringing solutions.
No, and all joking aside, I mean, this is all of our lives. When we're talking insurance, guys, it's everybody knows that insurance doesn't matter until you need it. It's our lives. We are all one catastrophic second away from something that's life altering, and if we're not appropriately insured, and at reasonable rates where carriers are competing for our competition, which is how it should be. We've created so many roadblocks. It is unbelievable. Shane, I went over this thing on mass transit today, and everything is COVID. Mass transit is down 70% in our area. BART's about to fold, and nobody's talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that's crime and violence and the lack of enforcement, and people don't feel safe, and that's what all the statistics bear out. What we really need is, listen, we have elections right around the corner. I know, especially here in California, we feel our vote doesn't count, and perhaps it doesn't. But what I do know is that I believe, at least, that we have an obligation to go out there and at least vote to make our sentiments understood understood and heard. And if the vote gets loud enough, maybe eventually people will listen. They're going to have to, because the reality on the ground right now is becoming, again, joking aside, frankly unbearable. And it's well, Shane, all we can do is hope for better days, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you always look for the silver lining, and you always look for, for us, we've kind of shifted and pivoted towards commercial insurance. I mean, when things get tough, you have to look and figure out, okay, what can we do? Those that are listening, I urge you, California Department of Insurance, Ricardo Lara's office, write them. Send an email, phone calls. What are you guys doing? It mind boggles me, Brian, that, it's just starting to get picked up in the media, and they don't have their facts straight. They don't have the reasoning why. But, hey, this carrier leaves, it's on the media. But it doesn't seem like it's really the aha moment has happened where people are getting it like, oh crap, we need to do something. And it's kind of like the Titanic, okay, we've struck the iceberg. We're still treading water, and there's still time to correct the situation, but you're going to have to start getting on the phone. You're going to have to start making your voice be heard, because like I said, we're in dire straits.
Yep. We certainly are. Hey, listen, if you guys want to talk with Shane and his team over there, I could vouch. They're fantastic folks. You would be in good hands with them. If you have any questions, all the information, all the contact information is right around here. Make sure you reach out to these guys with any policy questions you have, and just certainly in general, the state of the industry. Shane and these guys are fantastic. Shane, thanks for your time, man. And hey, if I don't have a chance to talk to you, enjoy the 4th, man. This is a big one for me.
Absolutely, man. You too.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.